Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So our theme for this week, we are taking some inspiration from titles, because all the books we are going to take a look at this week, all 6 of them, have one-word titles. That's right, there is one word in the title. There might be 1 or 2 "thes" somewhere, but that doesn't really count as a word, especially if we're counting and you have to do a word count. So we have one-word titles. Quick, easy to remember. Believe it or not, there are 6 right here. There are way more here though. So the ones we're going to take a look at, there's a little bit something for everyone. So let's get started. Our first one is Mayday. Okay, so 7th grader Wayne Kobok is from a family with a long line of war heroes, fighting all the way back into the American Revolution. And his grandfather reminds him of it every single chance he can get. And it doesn't help that when his uncle dies fighting overseas in the army, yeah, like his grandfather takes every single chance to remind him of this family heritage. On the way back from the funeral, though, he and his mom are flying back to their home, and the plane crashes. And while his mom and Wayne survive, everything changes for Wayne in this moment. Wayne, when he wakes up in this weird place, he's in a hospital, no idea how he got there. He now faces this new reality, which includes facial deformities, like he doesn't even have an eyebrow anymore. There are scars. He has stitches all over his face. He has a throat injury to the point where he can no longer speak, and they are hoping that this is going to be a temporary thing as his throat heals. And then he learns from his mom that in order to help her and him, this grandfather has decided he's going to come and stay with them, move in with them, to help take care of everything going on during this situation. Now, this realistic and humorous look at times takes a look at family relationships, what the past means to families, as well as getting over like a traumatic event, such as like, I don't know, maybe nothing as crazy as a plane crash, but we all can relate to Wayne, even if it may not be a plane crash. This is Mayday. The Dungeoneers. Okay, so Colm has 8 sisters, and he's the perfect pickpocketer because he is stealthy, he's quick, plus he's also missing a finger, which makes it even that much easier to get the job done. Now, when one of his sisters falls ill and they need money for medicine, Colm gets to work and he starts by pickpocketing like wealthy people in their village, and he soon has quite the little mound of gold coins. Now, when his father discovers this, because he has no idea what Colm is doing, his father's super disappointed and decides he needs to bring him in front of the magistrate. Like, if he goes and he fesses up, then it shouldn't be that bad. There shouldn't be that much of a punishment. Colm, though, freaks out, and he decides he can't do that. He runs away, but he soon finds himself at this school that is made for kids like him to an extent. And it is at the school where he learns he can be taught how to become this treasure-seeking dungeon raider. Sounds cool, right? But it's actually way more dangerous and way more complicated than what you think. Especially since there are creatures in the ground that no one wants to face, such as ogres, trolls, goblins. So it's not just finding this treasure, it's also survival. Now, soon, Colm is on an adventure that he never could have imagined or dreamed of. And he's making new friends who are just like him, and he finds himself even in like a mini crew. It is when he and his new crew are put to the test, and there is a betrayal that happens that is going to change everything. If you like high fantasy, so again, like stuff like goblins, dragons, underground worlds and cities, and there's adventure, and they're mixed together. This is a must-read, especially since this is the first in a series. This is the Dungeoneers. The Bone Shaker. So growing up in 1913 Missouri, there's 13-year-old Natalie, and she loves machines. Because in her mind, they make sense. Everything has a piece, everything has a role, everything comes together to work together. One day, there's this guy named Dr. Jake Limberberg who shows up in town. He has these wagons in his caravan, and one of the wagon wheels has fallen off, and he needs someone to fix it. So that would be Natalie's dad, because he's the wagon maker in town. Natalie soon learns that this is no ordinary wagon train, but it is Dr. Limberleg's Nostrum Fair and Technological Medicine Show. Along with this mysterious vehicle that's not a wagon, but it's under these tarps and covers, and he won't let anyone see it. Which of course makes Natalie even that much more curious. Natalie, though, she gets a weird feeling. She gets a weird vibe from this guy in the situation, but she seems to be the only one in the town who gets this. Everyone else is like enthralled with him. They love this. They can't wait to get to know him and know more about what's going on. But then weird things start to happen. And Natalie starts to notice that there are machines that start to come to life since this doctor's been in town. And she knows it's going to be up to her to save her town from evil, especially since no one else in town really believes her that they're coming to life or that there's evil going to be happening. Now, if you enjoy science fiction meeting historical fiction, which has also been called steampunk, then this is an enjoyable read, which will have you cheering for Natalie as she takes on this force of evil, and it's complete standalone, beginning, middle, end, so you will know what happens to Natalie at the end. This is the Bone Shaker. Pony. So, 12-year-old Silas lives in Ohio with his father and a ghost only he can see. And it is the year 1860. One night, 3 strange men appear at their house. Silas's dad comes to him, tells him he has to go with them, even though he doesn't explain who, what, where, why, when, any of that. But he's going to be back in a week. Not to worry. Silas, though, knows something is wrong when he wakes up the next morning and one of the horses that went with this group of men comes back without a rider. Silas knows this is his dad trying to send him a message, trying to let him know that something is up and that he needs to get help. But Silas decides he's not going to go get help. He's going to do what he needs to help his dad. And Silas decides he's going to go after them. He's going to get on this horse. This ghost is going to go with them that only Silas can see. And they're going to set off on this journey in which Silas is going to have to face all of his fears and then some in order to find his dad, save his dad, rescue his dad, whatever you want to say it, without even knowing what he's up against and who these men are and what his dad has been involved in. I'm going to tell you, it's not exactly, good things that's going on here. If you love historical fiction mixed with Western and mystery elements, this adventure will keep you on the edge of your seat. You'll be along with Silas as not only does he go on this journey that's like a physical journey, but also this internal one in which he becomes this whole different person. This is Pony. Ginger Snap. So Jaina, who goes by Ginger Snap, she lives with her older brother Rob. They live in upstate New York, and their parents have passed away. And as soon as Rob was old enough to take care of her, that's when he became like the big older brother that takes care of her. Now, Rob will do whatever it takes in order to help them survive. But then when World War II breaks out, he decides he needs to do what he needs to do for his country, and he enlists and joins the army. Shortly thereafter, he is then sent overseas to go fight. Ginger Snap has no idea where he is, and she's living with the landlord, just trying to go day by day. One day, though, she receives news in the mail that her brother Rob has gone missing in action. And Ginger Snap has no idea what that means. Does that mean he's alive? Does that mean he's dead? Does that, she's never going to see him again? No idea. So in this moment of realizing that she doesn't have any other family, she starts to think about the fact that she may have a grandmother because she remembers her mom telling her about her, but Ginger Snap doesn't know anything about her, just knows that she lives in Brooklyn. So Ginger Snap then takes it upon herself. She leaves upstate New York, she heads down to Brooklyn in hopes of finding this grandmother that she doesn't even know if she really exists or not. And you will be on this journey with Ginger Snap as she learns about who she is, what does family mean, does she even have other family members, as well as you'll be on the edge of your seat wanting to know what's the deal with Rob? Is he really missing in action? Is he ever going to come back home? This historical fiction mystery is one that will keep you reading between the lines more than just trying to figure out family, but you'll also be learning about how the World War II impacted those on the home front as well. This is Ginger Snap. And our last one is Starfish. So in the early 1900s, even before the early 1900s, but our story takes place in the early 1900s, there were these reservations or these plots of land that Native Americans, First Americans, they would be forced to live there by the government. And it would be there that the government would take children and would force them to forget everything they knew about themselves and their culture and their heritage, and force them to almost become the white people. They would only be allowed to speak English. They would have to wear, they would not be allowed to wear their own original clothes, celebrate their cultures and traditions. And this actually really did happen. It happened actually a lot. Now, siblings Beatrice and Lionel, they find themselves on one of these reservations. And when Beatrice is threatened by a soldier, they decide they cannot stay there and they choose to run away and escape, which is a huge no-no. So they know they're not allowed to do this, but they decide they need to escape and they need to find their grandfather. They know he's somewhere, they hope he's still alive, but they have no idea where he is. They think he's over the mountains. As they set off to go find their grandfather, they are now going to have to rely on themselves and each other, as well as the teachings they know from their grandfather, as well as their culture and their heritage, especially since they're going to be surviving on their own in this wilderness with just what they brought with them. Plus, there are people following them with the goal of bringing them back, that they're not allowed to just leave like that. Now, this is a look at our time in a history that's eye-opening, and maybe it's something you didn't even know happened, but there's some history, there's some action, there's some adventure, there's survival, there's siblings. You will want to know, what happens to Beatrice and Lionel? Do they end up getting away, or do they end up having to go back to this reservation and become people they don't want to become? This is Starfish. So these are just 6 of the books we have here at the library that are one-word titles. Again, quick, easy to remember. So I encourage you to come out, check out one of these, or again, there are way more others than what you could ever imagine or think of. So we encourage you to come out, and we will help you find whatever perfect book you are looking for. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you tune back next week when we have a whole new middle grade book spotlight.